one thing we don't talk enough about is how incompetent children are from generation to generation. It is like so crazy to witness it, because it's like, god damn. But it's like, seriously, like with each generation, the children get more and more incompetent. Like, is it just me, or have you guys recognized it too? I think we've all recognized it. Like, we've all have. Like, these children really can't do some of the same stuff that we used to do when we were their age. And it's funny, because I remember growing up hearing my mom's generation talk about that with us. Like, pretty much like, when I was younger, I used to catch the bus. I was 9 years old, grocery shopping for the whole house without anybody coming with me. Or, when I was 9 years old, I was able to cook a whole Thanksgiving dinner. Stuff that our generation couldn't do. I grew up in the 90s, so if you grew up in the 90s and you kind of grew up in a household where you was low-key spoiled, you didn't have to be responsible for things like that. But, maybe your parents did, right? And so now we're the elders, right? We're the ones that we have the most impact on today's children. And we're realizing that these kids can't do simple stuff. Like, and so now we're the ones saying, well, Dad, when I was your age, I used to be able to do X, Y, Z. Or X, Y, Z, or X, Y, Z. And it's just crazy to witness how within each generation, the kids get more and more incompetent. Like, once the kids that are out now, once they become adults, and they start having children, I really wonder what their kids are going to be able to do. And I really can't wait to witness their reaction to some of the things they realize their kids can't do, because it's like, now you see how we feel. Yeah, and incompetent is a strong word, right? But it's the only word I can really think of. Like, y'all can't do nothing. And each generation, to me, has its own special gifts, right? So, like, I'm pretty sure that the generation that's out now think that we're incompetent with certain things, like technology, right? They laughing at us. The same way I'm laughing at them right now, they laughing at us because they know we don't really know certain things. We don't really know how to work technology as well as they do. Certain things about social media they know more about. Certain things about how to work the iPhone. And as much as we think that the things that we say they can't do matter, the things that they say they see that we can't do matter either. So it's like, so I say all that to say this. I think children are showing up as incompetent in today's world because we don't teach them how to be autonomous, right? We don't teach them how to do things independently. And then we also don't emphasize the success in going through the process, right? A lot of times we usually celebrate the outcome of the things that our children do, but I don't think that we celebrate and honor processes as much as we should, which doesn't encourage children to try hard. It encourages them to hurry up and want to get quick results so that they can hurry up and get the praise or the recognition that they're looking for, right? Very, very seldom do we emphasize the process that it takes for children to get a task done, right? So I think that that's something that we really need to do as adults, right? We need to really make sure that we're providing opportunities for the children to be independent and autonomous. And then we also need to not only praise them for their end result, but we also need to praise them for how they handle their processes, right? And then again, if we notice that through their processes, there's certain things that they're doing that's hindering them from getting from point A to point B, then it's our job to recognize that and to coach and guide them through those tough moments so that they can master the skill, right? So, with that being said, it requires a lot from us, right? So it requires us to, number one, be patient. Number two, be observant. Number three, be experimental, because we have to pretty much experiment with our methods, right? With our approaches and how we're going to help our children get over certain hurdles, right? Along with being willing to experiment, you also have to model. Like, you have to be willing and able to model for your children, show and demonstrate things for your children, because those are going to be the things that are going to really help them get over the hurdles of maybe not understanding something or not mastering something, right? As teachers, there's something that we do called I do, we do, you do, right? And it's more so for scaffolding, but there's modeling in there too, right? And when I say scaffolding, I mean helping a child get from one level of understanding to a new level of understanding, which is like full-blown comprehension, right? And even application in certain situations, right? So in order for teachers to, scaffold children, one of the things that we do, one of the methods we use is I do, we do, you do. So I do is the modeling. That's when we actually show the children how to do something, right? Then we do. That's when we do it together. We do it as a team, right? So that you can kind of pick up on how I'm doing things, and you can kind of transfer that on to yourself so you can see how you would like to do things. And then the last one is you do. That means you're doing it by yourself. I'm just watching just to make sure that you're doing things correctly. If you need guidance, I will intervene. But if not, I'm going to let you rock out and see if you can do it by yourself. That's something that parents should know more about too. The I do, we do, you do method. I think that will help, right? That will help bring everything all in and tie it all in together. So yeah, in addition to that, matter of fact, before I go on, let me do a recap real quick, because I said that we need to provide more opportunities for them to be autonomous. I did say that we need to make sure that we're focusing on their process and not their outcome. I also said that we need to be experimental, meaning we need to, I said observant first, meaning we need to watch and see the process, but we also need to be experimental in our approach, right? What methods we're using to pretty much help our children. I just told you guys about one good method, which is the I do, we do, you do method. And then after that, I said that we need to pretty much be patient, right? I think that's what I said. But if not, that's the new order. That's the order that the recap is going to go in. And now I can move on to the next point, right? So in addition to doing all of those things that we said, right, we also need to make sure that we're taking ourselves out of the way. And when I say that, I mean this. Like, when you're trying to teach your child how to be independent and how to be autonomous, sometimes it could be annoying, because it's like, look, we ain't got time for that. Let me just hurry up and do it so I know it's done right. Let me hurry up and do it so I know there's no mess to clean up, because we got to hurry up and do the next thing. But you have to really take yourself out of the equation, right? Because at the end of the day, I know you have things to do. I know you don't really necessarily feel like dealing with a mess if there's a mess, but you have to take yourself out of the equation, because you have to focus on the fact that, hey, although this might be annoying, this is helping my child grow. This is helping my child become more independent, right? Even something as simple as zipping up their coat or tying their shoes when they're young, right? That's something that can be annoying, because it's like you really got to sit there and wait for them to do that, when you can just go zoop zop and then y'all can go. But one of the best things you can do is wait. Take yourself out the equation. And because what you have to realize is you're going to have to say, look, one day at some point they're going to have to do this without me. I'm not going to be there to always do this for them. So you have to take yourself out the equation and let them do it, right? One of the things I see on social media, and I don't know if you guys ever came across this content creator, but I absolutely love the content creator. Now, some things I think they should try to model, use the I do, we do, you do method, so that we can see some improvement. But I do like the way they take themselves out of the equation, and then they just let the child be autonomous. But it's a little girl who makes coffee. She makes coffee drinks with her parents. She's young. She's maybe like, she looks to be like 3. She looks to be a toddler, like anywhere between the ages of 3 and 5. I don't see her being older than 5. But her parents let her make coffee with them in the morning. They let her pour the coffee, pour the cream, pour whatever flavoring she's putting in there, sprinkle the cinnamon sugar on top. Like, they really let her do it all by herself. Now, she makes a huge mess. Every single time. She makes the biggest mess, okay? But she's doing it on her own. And then what you get to see her do, you get to see her have more control over the object, which is right on target for her age group. She's supposed to have object control, right? So she's controlling whatever object it is that she's pouring. She's using her hand-eye coordination to be able to pour the liquid into the cup without spilling, right? Now, she does spill. She does make a mess. But I will say, I've been watching her content for a little bit, and you do slowly but surely see her getting better on her own. Now, I do think her improvement process will probably speed up just a tad bit if mom and dad did the I do, we do, you do method, where they kind of like model, look, this is how we pour. Let's do it together. Now you do it on your own. You know what I mean? I think she probably would have improvement much faster and less mess. But the fact that they're able to let their guard down and let their child really just be autonomous in that moment, they're modeling what I'm saying to other parents, right? They're modeling the idea of taking yourself out the equation, slowing down, being present, and really letting your child just go ahead and do things on their own, so that they can, number one, feel more comfortable with being independent, and then number 2, they can become more autonomous. And like I said, she is progressing. Like, you see the progression happening with each video she does. She gets better and better at pouring, right? And again, if her parents chose to, they could always use the I do, we do, and you do method, because they like, look, you know, if they're those types of parents that saying, look, it's a lot of money being wasted with all this stuff spilling, or if they're the type of parents that saying, you know, we ain't gonna keep cleaning up this mess, they can use the I do, we do, you do method to help speed up the process, right? But then again, they might not want to do that, because they might really like the organic way that their child is figuring it out on her own. They also might find it enjoyable to clean up after doing something like that. Like, I can definitely see it being a cute way to spend time with your family. That's something that they do to spend time. And so, you know, not to say that the family has to do the I do, we do, you do method, but I'm just saying, if they wanted to, that could be something that they would do to help speed up the process. And that's something that you could do too. Like, you might have watched them before as content creators and said, why did you like letting that little girl make a mess? Well, instead of worry about that, you could worry about how you could use the I do, we do method to help you and your child do something that you want them to be more independent in. You know what I mean? But I really think that that's the only reason why kids are becoming less competent. I mean, technology does play a huge factor in it. We're not going to act like the fact that technology exists and the fact that there's instant gratification, we're not going to say that that takes away from some of their competence level, like in the physical space, right? But I mean, shoot, they can say, look, y'all incompetent online to us. Maybe they might want to use I do, we do, you do on us, so we can stop asking them questions about the phone. Who knows? But I do believe that that's playing a large factor into it. Another thing besides that's playing a huge factor in why these kids are now incompetent or becoming less and less competent. I really believe, and y'all gonna be like, what? I really blame it on the fact that there's so much polarizing research and information out there about how children should be raised, how children should be taught, how children should be disciplined. It's so much opposing and polarizing information out there and ideologies out there that adults are adopting, and now we're using them when we're working with children. These kids are confused. They got some of us doing gentle parenting. They got some of us doing corporate punishment. They got some of us doing, I don't even know, we just reacting to whatever we don't understand. Like, we are confusing the kids because as adults, we're not on the same page. We're not on the same page in our approach to rearing them. I think that that's one of the biggest things that is that we're up against, that we and the children are up against. We need to strengthen our villages, right? So whatever village it is that you're creating for your child, you have to make sure that all of the stakeholders, all of the adults in that village are on the same page. They gotta kind of, they have to have, like, you can't have one person, like, you can't have in a 2-parent household one person doing gentle parenting and the other person being an authoritative parent. You can't do that because at some point the parents aren't going to be on the same page. The kids are going to recognize, once a kid recognizes where a loophole is in the system, baby, they're going to take advantage, and an adult would too. So you can't fault them for that, because as an adult you would too. How many people take loopholes on their jobs? Okay, right. So if you know that you would do it, if you saw that, okay, this person might not understand this and this person might not understand that, then best believe these kids are doing it too. They are finding loopholes. They figuring out who don't know what. They know who's with it and who's not with it, and they are having it their way, like McDonald's. And so I do believe that plays a huge part in it. Like, we need to do better with making sure that as adults we're all on the same page in how we grow these kids, how we help them develop, how we help them think, how we help to train their minds, because you have to train kids' minds. You do. A lot of us think that, kids should just do things organically and learn organically, and it should be, but you have to have a blended approach. And you have to know when it's appropriate for children to be able to use inquiry-based learning, and when it's appropriate for children to use either teacher-facilitated, parent-facilitated, or adult-facilitated instruction, right? Sometimes it is cool to let the kids explore, but sometimes it's cool to hold their hand and show them where they need to go. Because that's going to help them understand the right way, right? So, figuring out which angle we want to approach these children from is paramount. Figuring out how to properly do that is another thing that's paramount. And when I say properly do that, I mean, let's talk about best practices. Let's talk about evidence-based research that supports why you may or may not be putting a specific strategy or a specific ideology in your parenting philosophy. And you should have a parenting philosophy. So if you don't, you might want to start thinking about it. I actually have a free parenting course that I'll drop the link in the description bar for you guys to see. It actually will help you shape your parenting philosophy. So that's something that you guys need to really check out if you don't have a parenting philosophy. But you should, right? So figuring that part out is huge. And then again, going back to creating those opportunities for children to be autonomous, actually being observant, being patient, making sure that they're understanding the importance of going through a process, making sure that you understand and experiment with different strategies, different methods, different ideologies, so that you can know what works for you and your child, right? And then also, again, taking yourself out the equation, taking the things that you may be inconvenienced by out of the equation and showing up for your child. I'm telling you, if you do those things as a parent, you are going to see your children become competent. You're going to see them become autonomous. You're going to see them become independent. You are going to see them do an entire 180. But you had to do your part, right? And then you have to be confident enough in what you're doing that you're able to be transparent about the times when you don't do things 100% right. Because that's going to open up that's going to unlock a totally new level of trust between you and your child. And that's another way that you help your child become autonomous. Kids that trust their environment, kids that trust their authority figures, and kids that trust themselves, they become very autonomous adults. And so that's what's needed. Check out my curriculum, guys. I'm going to put a 1-minute commercial at the end of this video. Check it out, because this is something that you're going to need to put into your toolbox as a parent if you want to make sure that your kids are competent, independent, and well-rounded. One of the most difficult parts about being a parent is that there aren't any rules. That's exactly why I created Parental Guidance. This is a home-based curriculum that includes a textbook and an online course. This curriculum was constructed to assist parents in teaching their children about social emotional intelligences. We also key in on executive functioning and positive youth development. This includes self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, building and managing relationships, making responsible decisions, personal development, and self-evaluation. There are 30 lesson plans that include rationale and objectives, discussions and journaling, activities, and ongoing tips for parents. The online course teaches you how to successfully implement this curriculum with your children. Don't you need parental guidance? This curriculum was designed specifically for you. It acts as a guide to help parents develop their children's social emotional intelligences and their executive functioning skills. The curriculum is 100% digital now. We also added 4 new features. You get an assessment tool, 2 journals, and a deck of discussion cards. We also added 2 bonus features. You get access to our community and parents workshop, as well as an exclusive interview with myself, the creator of Parental Guidance. There's a total of 6 units with 5 lessons in each unit. Use the online portal to watch videos on how to accurately complete the activities in each lesson. You could also download any of the resources that you may need to complete the activities.